Hello, Culture Matters podcast. We are back with, I'm back with a monologue about, here's a quote just for this episode, actually, that explains it all. You can't just hope for a better future. You have to act. Josh Pitts. I was recently on a podcast with Josh right before this, one of the most epic podcasts I've done in a long time. And one of the lessons was the green versus the yellow, not to follow the yellow brick road. So in my calendar, this is all about action, keeping energy high, how to be more productive, how to have more meaning in our work. This is a gift to be able to do that every single day in our work with the Culture Matters podcast, with our client partners, and maybe some of this philosophy rubs off on you. Some tactics I've used to keep my energy high and love what I do and love who I do it with. So we have today I got up, had an amazing day, got to go on the Real Build podcast with our good friend of the Culture Matters podcast, the one and only Bill Ryman, around 7:30 a.m. Meeting after meeting after that, I was ready to rock, having an amazing day, running from one place to the next, just like I love it. Making introductions with some of our guests that are amazing people, like the one and only John Duffin and Aunt Marchie, you got to meet today, that I was able to introduce them. Had some other meetings. Then I had a couple podcasts in the afternoon into the early evening. And of course, I've ending the day with Josh coming back for another episode, the third episode actually in the Culture Matters podcast. We had some live action. Just go check out the episode. You're going to love it. And so my last episode has to reschedule because life happens, things happen. But on that episode, I shared with Josh, there's one thing I'm not going to do, which is end my day at a loss. Loss as in, and I've learned this from Peterson, Dr. Peterson, in maps of meaning. There's what is explored territory and unexplored territory, what should be. So the current state of things and where I want to go. Well, I had an expectation for how I was going to end my day, engaging with somebody I care about, learning with you, developing something wonderful, putting it out in the world. But something, out of my ability to control occurred, which is, schedule changed. So I'm not going to end the day on a loss. And so I was talking to Josh about, well, what can I do? Maybe I should do a monologue. So here I am. Well, here's the lesson. One of the lessons in my calendar, this might help you. I keep my energy high by actually to do all this work that I love, but even in with passion and with love of doing what you love with who you love it, you still hit walls and get tired. So one of the tactics I've used is actually color coordinate my calendar. So when there's a podcast, it's always confirmed, it goes from tentative to confirmed. Tentative is orange, confirmed is red. After the podcast is complete, it goes to done, which is green, and a check mark. And this might sound something silly or like, duh, or, how does that help? There's this motivation that happens taking from orange to red to green. There's this accountability that I believe has an influence over my ability to respond to things out of my control, the unknown. And it creates this excitement. And then I can look back on the day, it's late at night and I've been going since the early morning and say, wow, look what I've accomplished, green, 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 or, different meetings at different colors. So some are go from dark blue to light blue. And so we were joking on the podcast with Josh, yellow is rescheduled. So the day was going to end with yellow, which is rescheduled. But I'm not going to let the day end with yellow. I want the day to end with green. Green is my color for success, for growth, for creation, for cultivating these amazing conversations that the idea is to help you, me, our guest grow and build the culture. So, and of course, recently I've been doing more monologues. If you've been listening to the Culture Matters podcast, talking on different topics that we talk, that I'm sharing different, let's say, short form information on Instagram and elaborating on that on the Culture Matters podcast, as well as 30 Days of Thought. Josh is like, well, dude, do a monologue. Don't go on, like you said, don't end the day with a loss, something out of my control. I could easily say, all right, I did enough for today. and rationalize. But no, I didn't actually keep the commitment that I set out to, right? That explore territory, unexplored territory, that what is and what should be. The should is like we have certain I have certain goals, and we have certain goals of how many episodes that we're going to produce for you, the listener, how much I'm going to learn, how much value that we're going to create, how many relationships that we're going to cultivate and move into the future together with this show. So yeah, I'm not going to end the day with a yellow, which is a reschedule, and that'll be worked out. Things happen. We're going to make that happen at another date. I'm going to end the day with a green. I'm going to share some of this with you, and you can get to know me better and some of the philosophies that have worked for me to keep my energy high. Would this color coordinating be helpful to everybody? I'm not expecting that, but it's something that I've used to uh, create a condition for me to be more responsible, to not quit when I get tired. I found that my energy goes up when I see those colors, and I feel like it's like I'm checking something off a list. I'm sure some neuroscientists could go into the brain and dopamine and things and what's happening to me as I cross off these lists and check these boxes. But the goal is to end on a green. The goal is to move the needle forward a little bit more every day. The goal is to accomplish what I set out to. And that's having done this for years now offline, I believe that's part of what's led me to share more of who I am with you on the Culture Matters podcast in a form like this, just speaking freely, what I've learned from today, some things that I've worked on, and why I'm even doing this monologue right now. I want to end the day on green, something of value for you. Shout out my great friend Josh, who every time I talk to him, some exciting leveling up happens as it relates to content, shredding it up, right? Show up, hustle, repeat every day. And yeah, my challenge to you is think about where you might kind of call it in early based on things that are absolutely out of your control or your ability to respond, your response ability. What are ways that you can um, develop with yourself, with your team, with your advisors, mechanisms of accountability so that you could look back like today for me, I can say, all right, look at all this green, look at this blue, look at these, there isn't a lot of yellow. Oh, but then there's green. Yeah. Okay. I rescheduled that last show, that opportunity to serve you, and that's yellow, but I added green monologue. Don't follow the yellow brick road. Go green or go home. Thank you for your support listening to the Culture Matters podcast. Please leave us a review on the Culture Matters podcast. And I hope this lesson is as helpful for you. It is for me to actually do it, share some of this with you. And I will see you next time on the Culture Matters podcast.